Lena had always been a light sleeper, prone to vivid dreams and night terrors. But one particular experience would stay with her for years, and it all began on a seemingly ordinary night. She had just moved into a new apartment and was trying to adjust to her new surroundings. The place was small, but it was cozy, and Lena had no reason to feel uneasy. That was until she started hearing strange noises in the middle of the night, creaking sounds that seemed to come from beneath her bed. At first, she thought it was just the apartment settling, but the noises grew louder and more persistent. One night, while trying to sleep, Lena heard the sound of breathing, low, heavy breaths, coming from directly under her bed. Her heart raced, and she felt the familiar sensation of sleep paralysis beginning to set in. She couldn't move, couldn't scream, and could only listen as the breathing grew louder, closer. When she finally managed to turn her head, her eyes locked on something that made her blood run cold. A pair of eyes staring up at her from beneath the bed. They were cold, calculating, and glowed faintly in the darkness. The figure didn't move, but Lena could feel its presence, something sinister watching her every move. For weeks, the night terrors continued, and the figure under the bed never left. It wasn't until she moved out of the apartment that the presence seemed to fade away, but Lena often finds herself checking under her bed before she sleeps, just in case. James had always been a heavy sleeper, but one night, everything changed. He was staying at his grandmother's old farmhouse in the countryside, a place steeped in history and local legends. The area was known for tales of strange occurrences, particularly the haunting of a banshee that was said to wail before a death occurred. It was just after midnight when James woke up suddenly, gasping for breath. His heart raced, and he felt an overwhelming sense of dread. In the darkness of his room, he could hear the faintest sound, a low, sorrowful wail that seemed to echo through the house. He thought it was the wind at first, but as the sound grew louder, James realized it was a cry of despair, unnatural and haunting. Frozen with fear, he tried to turn on the light, but his body wouldn't respond. His limbs felt heavy, and his vision blurred. The wailing continued, growing in intensity. Then, in the corner of his room, James saw something that made his blood run cold. A pale, ghostly figure of a woman, her face twisted in agony as she wept. Her eyes were wide with fear, and her mouth moved in silent screams. The Banshee, a spectral entity, seemed to know James was awake, and as he lay paralyzed in terror, the wailing reached its crescendo. The last thing he heard before everything went silent was the chilling words, "Death is near." James left the farmhouse that morning, shaken to the core, and refused to return. The Banshee's cry had not only haunted his sleep, but had left an indelible mark on his mind. To this day, he wonders if the ghostly figure was a warning of something to come. When Sarah was in her early 20s, she began experiencing something that would haunt her every night, a shadowy figure that appeared at the end of the hallway outside her bedroom. At first, she dismissed it as her imagination playing tricks on her during sleep. But as the weeks went by, the figure became more persistent, always appearing at the same time, just as Sarah began to drift into sleep. Each night, the figure seemed to move closer to her room, its silhouette dark and ominous. The most unsettling part was that she couldn't seem to wake up. It felt as if her body was frozen, trapped in a waking nightmare where she could see everything but was unable to move or scream for help. As her sleep paralysis worsened, Sarah started to hear faint whispers accompanying the shadow, voices that seemed to speak directly into her mind. Desperate for relief, Sarah visited a sleep clinic, only to learn that she was suffering from extreme night terrors and sleep paralysis. However, what the doctors couldn't explain was the unnerving sense that someone, or something, was watching her. Despite medication and therapy, Sarah's experiences persisted, and she often woke up with bruises on her arms as if something had grabbed her during the night. It wasn't until Sarah moved to a new house that the shadows seemed to stop following her. But to this day, whenever she feels particularly stressed or anxious, she can still feel the weight of something unseen, lurking just out of sight in the dark corners of her room. Marie had always been a calm, rational person, but her experiences with night terrors shattered her perception of reality. It began when she started hearing a lullaby, soft, gentle, and soothing, every night as she tried to fall asleep. At first, she thought it was just her imagination, a soothing memory from her childhood. But the lullaby soon became more than just a song. It became an unsettling presence. The lullaby seemed to play from somewhere deep in her room, but Marie couldn't find the source. It wasn't a melody she recognized, and it felt wrong somehow, as if it were trying to lull her into a false sense of security. As the nights went on, the lullaby became louder and more insistent, as if trying to draw her attention to something. One night, as she lay in bed, her eyes fluttered open in the darkness. The lullaby was playing once again, but this time, Marie could see a figure standing at the foot of her bed. The figure was shrouded in shadows, its face hidden in the dim light. The lullaby seemed to come from this figure, its mouth moving as if singing the song directly into her mind. Marie tried to scream, but once again, she was paralyzed, unable to move or make a sound. The lullaby continued to play, and the figure's presence felt suffocating. The last thing Marie remembered before blacking out was the figure bending down close to her, whispering, "Sleep forever." When she woke up the next morning, the lullaby had stopped, but the fear lingered. To this day, Marie can't shake the feeling that the lullaby is still there, waiting to return.